and definitely fun to talk about. So for our last topic, somebody who I love following online. Okay, you guys know I love King Jay Barnett, the Black male therapist. He's so sweet to me. He's so brilliant, well spoken. He has a heart for God, for Black men, for people, for his family. I wish him all the success. I see he's doing a reality show, The King's Table. Not mad at it, because the world needs to hear him speak. So I found this clip on something he posted recently to social media and just found it to be beautiful. So let's talk about it.
There's strength in being vulnerable. You've got to be vulnerable. You can't receive from a broken heart and from a closed heart. And so many of us walking around, we do well in our job, we make good money, but emotionally, we're unstable. We can give our wives sex, we can give them body, but we can't give them our emotions because we don't know how to really be active in that space.
I took this because he was preaching to me, because I ain't gonna front y'all. I meet some good guys, but I can, their hearts be so closed. It's just too much. You cannot, like he said, you can't love from a broken space, and you can't. I learned that even within myself. Like, you can show up, you know, he was talking about how men show up. We can show up for the sex, we can show up for our jobs, but that emotional area is just untapped, and we need that. Oh, these relationships and the truth about what we need from each other ain't gonna work if we're not vulnerable. And it's so hard to love a man who's broken and whose heart is not available emotionally. The sex could be good, he could be doing whatever he's supposed to do, even purpose-wise, but like without that, it doesn't feel good to date or be in touch with a man like that.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. And when I heard him saying it, I actually thought about women as well, and even just myself, because I've been told that there are times when I'm not as vulnerable as I think that I am, and I know that to be true, which is part of how I've gotten into, the work that I do and hosting events like Surrender Sessions, of giving people, and women in particular, especially women of color and Black women, opportunities to be vulnerable, to express themselves, because oftentimes when we are operating and showing up in places that tell us to not be emotional, that tell us to suppress how we're feeling, that tell us to, you don't want to overdo it, because the way that we'll be perceived can then basically count against us later on. And so unfortunately, we get into these moments, and, just speaking for myself, where I'll basically become accustomed to suppressing my emotions until the moment where it's like, it's more of a blow up. Then I'm letting loose and letting you know how I feel. And then it's just like the floodgates are open. But just in everyday life, I don't think that showing how hurt something has made me, or how something really made me feel, as opposed to always being rational. I think that the vulnerability piece definitely can go, both ways. And, we've had our heartbreak and heartbroken. And I know that I definitely have had my heart hardened, and it's taken me years to peel back some of those layers in order to even be open. But those layers are still, having to be chiseled at, and just a lot of those walls, I'm having to still do the work of letting those things down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely with you on that, Keandra. I mean, I've been told, "Oh my God, you seem so guarded. You feel guarded," and I am. The Bible also says, "Guard your heart with vigilance." And because I didn't learn what that meant early, then yes, when certain heartbreak happened, it was my reaction to shut down and put the wall up, because what it says is that my emotions and how I feel don't matter, and they're not welcomed here. So cool. Like, somebody like me, good. Then I could real quick. You know what I'm saying? And I think with the 3 topics that we have, just even going to the guy at the top, it's like you got fellas like that running around, and encountering people who don't have healthy mindsets, then coming around to somebody, because now it's like, we know that men did not grow up with the space to be vulnerable. there's a meme going around of a mother pointing at a little brown mother pointing at her little brown boy, like, don't cry, man up, men don't cry, I'll give you something to cry for, ba, 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 ba. And then it shows in the second slide a grown man and a woman. Why aren't you crying? Why aren't you telling me? Why aren't you giving me? So we have to be cognizant of both sides. Mothers, how we shut these boys down. Women, how we speak to boys and how we make them feel, blah, 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 because the same goes on the other foot. When you have men out there telling women, you don't qualify, you don't make enough, you're a 5 at best, you're this, what. I have had men, boys, males say the wildest stuff to me. Mm-hmm. Like, so what part of that and the way you function when you're superficial and you're fake and you're mean and all of these things, now women have to meet you with the same vulnerability. And I think that's where we're getting stuck at, is y'all weren't raised with the vulnerability. So you really run around here acting like something, and it does affect us women. So now we're going against our nature to make sure that we're not affected by you. So that doesn't leave space for anybody to really open up and have the relationships that I think we can have if we focus on the love a little more and learn how to guard our hearts. Like, I think it's okay to have a wall up, so to speak. Like, we've got to find the balance. And this is the balance I'm personally working on myself, leaving my heart open. But also there's still a little filter in front that says what I'm going to be available to take in, because it's so sensitive. It took me years to mend my broken heart, and I'm still trying to magnetize the pieces of me that have been shattered back to me so I can love fully. So I just understand the vulnerability, and I just want guys to know it actually goes on both sides. So that was a great point that you brought up, Keandra, because I cannot front like I'm just about to, when my feelings be hurt, I'm not quick to say so, because you don't care. Show me you care about my feelings, I will share. But if you don't care, like, don't worry. I got friends, I got God, I got, all of these other modalities that'll help me navigate my waters. But, I think it's a men and women thing that struggle with vulnerability.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
What'd you think, Kei'Renee? You got men crying in your lap and telling them all your business? All the business?
I don't. I was just sitting here like, oh, girl, that was a therapy session. I feel like you released it.
It ain't easy in these streets for anybody.
It definitely isn't. But it's so needed. And I guess part of what, the hope of platforms like this and just these conversations is that not only with the goal and the intention of harmonizing relationships, but creating safe spaces within the relationships, because that, I think, is also what can also oftentimes be missing too. You know what I mean? Like, people not knowing how to be vulnerable with each other. And then the moment that someone is vulnerable, not knowing what to really even do with it. You know what I mean? Like, not realizing that, she's basically crying and bawling, and her reaction may be a bit more extreme than what the event or whatever, the trigger was. You may have felt like, warranted that, but most likely it's like a buildup of all these things that, have basically been pent up to where there may not have been a safe space or a safe time to actually let all that stuff go. And then the same for women, like, it can be the moment that a man has an explosion, it can be something that's a little bit more, where they might be crying, or it might even be violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of men don't necessarily know how to deal with some of their emotion. You know what I'm saying? If it hasn't been modeled on ways to do it, or if they're suppressing it, like all of us, we're human, we're definitely gonna pop. So finding those ways to create safety. And then when the emotions, I guess, spill out, being able to trust each other, to where it's like, you can basically handle it, or you'll basically, be able to go through it. Cause life happens. Life is happening. Like this year in particular has been rough, so folks is dealing with it. So if you want an authentic and real relationship, you're going to have to be open.
Get authentic and real.
Get authentic and real, and know that it's not always going to be cute.
It's not always going to be cute.
No.
I remember when that became a news flash for me. I was like, what is going on? This is not cute.
No.